Join Kinetic Balance Fitness for your functional activation resistance band with a dumbbell and Physioball stability strength. So the beginning of this workout starts with 3 exercises, 75 seconds on, 20 seconds off. These are compound movements or a functional activation that gets our total body working together, all of our muscle systems, so that we are moving into our workout in proper alignment with all systems firing, ready to go. Then we move into our workout portion, which is a stability strength aiming for higher repetition, 5 exercises, 75 on, 20 off, 2 times through. Pause here, get your Kinetic Balance Fitness personalized warm-up in so that you get the most out of this workout. Otherwise, you're gonna hear this tone, and we're gonna talk 30 seconds here about our first exercise. First, we have a resistance band. Now, I'm gonna demonstrate everything with our dumbbells as well. We're going to a lunge with a banded alternating shoulder press. We step down and back with those feet hip width apart for that lunge, up into that balance, and then punching one arm overhead for that shoulder press. The movement doesn't change if we're holding those dumbbells. Get ready to come with me. So my balance leg is stabilizing that band. As I go down into that lunge, my feet are hip width apart. I feel all 5 toes pushing into the floor. As I push overhead, my shoulders stay down and back away from my ears, meaning that my chin is tucked and my chest is tall. What I don't want is that shoulder coming up and pinching towards those ears, agitating that upper back. And what this feels like in our body, one more on this leg, is strain in the upper back and neck. Now we're gonna go ahead and switch which foot is forward, stepping down and back. So we're going half on one leg, half on the other leg. We're squeezing that bum to work on that balance leg. All right, now if balance is a challenge for you, go ahead and use what I call a kickstand. That's simply tapping those toes down on the floor with most of our weight on one foot. Now notice I changed over dumbbells just so you can see what it looks like. Movement stays the same. We're already down to 8 seconds. In this group, we're aiming for 10 to 14 repetitions. Beautiful work. Now, the second exercise in this circuit is a deadlift with an alternated inclined row. We're standing on that resistance band. We're gonna sit those hips down and back like we're picking something up. And then at the bottom here, at that incline, we're gonna pull one arm at a time towards those hips. Come with me, here we go. So we go down into that deadlift position. One arm at a time pulls that band towards my hip, and I'm not rotating my back. Now, most important, notice my chest stays tall. I have a little bit of an arch in my low back. I'm not falling flat here or rounded. My belly button is gently pulled in, supporting my spine. This movement stays the same if I'm using dumbbells rather than the resistance band. So nothing changes. As I pull towards my hips, my arm stops wherever it stops. What I'm not doing is squeezing my shoulder blades together and arching that back, pulling my chin forward. The other thing I'm not doing is pulling all the way towards my hip and rotating my shoulder forward. I keep my chest up tall, and I simply pull until my arm stops. Notice I'm also not rotating my body. This is where that core is starting to wake up. It's gonna be really important for that stability strength. Down to 8 seconds, squeeze that bum. So we're working our back, we're working our glutes, getting everything nice and toasty. 20-second breather. Our final exercise is going to be a single leg alternating chest press. So with that resistance band, it's gonna go behind your back to the base of those shoulders. We're gonna balance on one leg, punch both arms forward, and then alternate in that shoulder press. Come with me. So my wrists are flat, punching my knuckles forward. My arm comes back in line with the middle of my chest. Now, if you don't have a resistance band, you're gonna be down on the floor for a declined alternating chest press. So one arm at a time goes down, taps down on the floor, comes back up, and then you can even lower those hips and raise them. All right, nice, slow, and controlled. Couple more seconds here, and we're going to switch balance legs. So go ahead and switch the leg that you're balancing on. Notice I switched bands here too. So we can sometimes use our bands doubled over if we have a monster band. These monster bands are in a continuous loop or a pull-up assistance band, or we can do it in a single loop as I'm demonstrating here. We want to make sure that chin is tucked, the head is back, all right, like we're standing up against a wall. We're long, tall, and proud. And you're down to 8 seconds. We're going to do this functional activation one more time through. So all 3 of those same exercises going one more time here. Shake it out. We're back to the top with that lunge, banded, alternating shoulder press. Are you ready? It's coming in 5 seconds. All right, feet hip width apart, toes straight ahead. We're only going to go down in that lunge until we're comfortable, meaning we shouldn't be pushing into pain during any of these movements. If we have any kind of pain, pinching, pulling, that kind of pain, we don't ever push into that. We want to make sure that we're always listening to our bodies. We also want to check in on our posture. Head, ears stacked over those shoulders, shoulders stacked over those hips. We're going to go ahead and switch sides. Remember, if that balance is still new to you, go ahead and use that kickstand. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel my shoulders get nice and toasty here. Long and tall through the crown of that head, trying not to let that hip stick out, whether it's in that lunge or in that balanced position. Embrace the burn, 14 seconds. We're warm, but we're pushing towards our goals and what got us started today. 3 seconds. There you have it. Shoulders are done. We're going to go to that deadlift with that alternating row. All right, so doubled over would be standing on 2 loops. Single loop would be balancing on one, or standing on 1 loop of that resistance band. Don't forget that same movement. Deadlift, 1 arm at a time, pulling towards that hip. Nice up and squeeze, squeezing that bum. As we go down into this inclined position, it's kind of a low deadlift, if you will. My chest, the further down that chest falls, the harder on the low back it's going to be. So I ask that we do this at an inclined position, meaning we're sitting those hips down and back so that we can get that nice big squeeze on that bum. But we're not at a full bent over position, which is why I call this kind of like an inclined row position. It takes a lot of that strain off the low back, and the back is always supported by that gentle pull in on your belly button. Exhale as you pull up towards that hip, feeling that work along the outside of the armpits, along the back of the shoulders, and on the front of that arm in that bicep. 10 seconds, 2 more repetitions. Get everything you can out of these movements. Yes. Beautiful work. And that's your last one. Shake it out. Next, and a last time through for the functional activation, that single leg alternated banded chest press. Coming at you in 6 seconds, so shake it out. Get ready to rock it. Balance or kickstand. Now, don't forget, if you're doing this with the dumbbells, this is the one that's quite different. All right, it's that declined chest press, alternating. So still punching those arms out in front, 1 arm at a time. We're not letting the body rotate as we release that 1 arm. The other thing I don't want to see is the hands kind of flexing back. It really strains the wrists. Our wrists have muscles too. We want to strengthen those forearms. 1 more each side, and we're going to switch balance legs. Here we go. Notice that we're tall and long. through the crown of the head, belly button in, the bum is tight. I don't want to see the hip sliding out. We want to really tuck those hips under. And we want to keep that chest proud and tall. We don't want to fall forward or round. Exhale. We're going to really start to feel this firing up the hip and the balance leg all the way down to the foot, but as well, that chest primarily, the chest to the front of the shoulders, the back of the arms. 3 seconds. We're not coming back to these. Oh, beautiful work. Now we're hitting the main part of that workout. Again, 5 exercises, 75 on, 20 off, aiming for 14 or 12 to 16 repetitions. First exercise is down on the floor, only one with the band. Underneath those feet, feet hip width apart, one arm at a time pulling towards that hip. Come with me in 5, get yourself set up. If you don't have the resistance band, you're coming down to the floor for a quadruped position. Okay, on those hands and knees, feet flexed. We push back through those toes. Nice neutral spine, meaning we have that small arch and that gentle pull in on the belly button. Either way we do it, we're not arching that low back. We're not flattening the low back. We keep the chest proud, belly button in, and there's no rotation, meaning we're not rotating that body as we pull. Beautiful work. Remember, we stop that arm wherever it stops. We're not pulling and squeezing those shoulder blades together. They're going to pinch a little bit. Totally normal within that range of motion. What we should feel is that we're able to keep the chin tucked and the head back as we pull that arm and that band towards the wrist. Whether we're with dumbbells or the resistance band, you control that band. Nice, slow, and controlled. Form first, and then we add the weight. 6 seconds for the finish, that first round. Nice work. Now, we're going to go to what's called a transverse lunge to balance. So we take those dumbbells. They're going to be a little bit heavier for this one because it's legs and they're strong. We're going to balance on one leg and we're going to pivot 90 degrees, go down into a lunge, push back up and come back up to balance. Come with me when you're ready. Now we want to keep count so that we're doing the same number of lunges on both legs. Notice that I'm actually pivoting my balance foot a full 90 degrees so that I go down into that lunge with all 5 toes touching the floor and my feet hip width apart. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see us going narrow in that lunge this way, because if you really look at my knee towards my hip, that's actually my knee going in, and it's very hard on the ankles, the knees, as well as the hips. And that's going to lead to pain and injury. So pivot, all 5 toes, check in, nice, slow, controlled down, going through a range of motion that is pain-free for you. It doesn't have to be that full 90 degrees. We have that slight incline on that chest so that we're feeling this work on that front leg, in that glute. 10 seconds. If we have any pain through that core as we twist, we can simply do a reverse lunge up to balance. Shake it out. We're now going to go to that Physioball, which should be for our height and rated for our body weight plus the dumbbells. We're going to go to a Physioball with an alternating transverse chest press. So we roll out so our head and shoulders are supported. Our palms are facing the legs. Punch both arms down up towards the ceiling, and then we drop one arm down, rotating that hand so the palm faces my body, and then I push back up with that palm facing my leg. All right, no rotation through my core as I bring that dumbbell down. And as I bring it down, my wrist stays stacked over those elbows, and my hand facing my body is in line with the middle of my core. Now, if you don't have a Physioball, you can do this down on the floor, either in a declined position or supported by that floor. So that would look like this, just supported Or if you wanted to add that little extra core work, but this works the lower chest muscles just a little bit more, then you might be a little bit stronger in this position. Down to 17 seconds. Exhale as you push those dumbbells up towards the ceiling. Belly button in, so we're always supporting the spine. Down to 5 seconds, keeping it even. Awesome work. Oh, shake out the arms, shake out the hands. We're going to that transverse lunge to balance on the opposite leg. So whatever leg you did last round, right? We're gonna do the opposite leg. So balancing on the opposite leg. Here we go. Pivot, step, toes straight ahead, feet hip width apart, and then we push back off the ground, pivot that foot, and come up to balance. Now, one thing that I see often here is people want to look straight ahead. So what that looks like is this. My head is lifted and I'm looking at a spot on the wall in front of me. What I want you to try to do is keep the chin tucked in the head back so that when you go down into that lunge, you're looking about 6 to 8 feet in front of you. And that spot kind of changes as we pivot, go down and up. What happens is what you'll see is if I have my head and I'm looking straight ahead, I'm bringing my chin forward, and that means that I'm carrying and holding those weights with my upper back and neck muscles. That's where we feel all that stress and strain from day-to-day life and posture. So we want to tuck the chin, stay long and tall through the crown of the head, unload what's called the upper trapezius. 8 seconds, keeping it even between both legs. Last one. There you have it. And we're going to recover. Last exercise is a Physioball crunch. So we start off sitting on the ball. We roll out until the low back is supported. Now the hands can cross the chest or come behind the head. But most important, we're squeezing the bum. All right. And then we pull, crunch the ribs towards the hips. Exhale, pushing that belly button back towards that Physioball. And what you're going to feel is this really works the abdominal muscles. All right. This targets the rectus abdominis, and squeezing the bum and keeping our hips up is going to take what are called our hip flexors out of this movement. So if you don't have a Physioball, you can do this in a declined position and crunching this way. Or you could do it on a bench or a chair, something that's about ball height here, where you can lift those hips up, squeeze the bum. This allows our abs to work while removing our hip flexors. This is really important if you feel what's called an anterior pelvic tilt, and let's say your hips kind of stick out and back. I'll show you what it actually looks like functionally here. We're exhaling as we crunch up, really feeling it in the abs, nothing in those hips. Last one. Beautiful work. And that is round number 1. We're going to go back to that seated banded alternating row. What you don't want is that anterior pelvic tilt where you have that big arch in that low back. That's tight hip flexors and weak abs. So we want to be standing nice and neutral. Here we go. Seated alternated banded row. If you don't have that resistance band, you have that quadruped row on those hands and knees, pulling that dumbbell towards the hip. One at a time, no rotation. Aiming for those 12 to 16 reps. And this is it, guys. This is our last time through. So what we should be feeling is our core as well as those muscles. So the big muscles working are along the lats, the outside of those armpits, the shoulders and the front of the arms. But we're going to start to feel it in that core as well. All right, the abs, the hips, the external obliques, so along the outside of that core, these work a lot. And anti-rotation. And this is what builds stability. This stability strength is all about keeping our muscles strong, our stabilizing muscles strong, so that we can build muscle and keep us safe and prevent injury. So if we can have muscles that keep us from rotating and pulling wrong, we're going to be able to lift those heavier muscles in safer positions. All right, we are back to that transverse lunge to balance. I'm going to start with the leg that I did last. So balancing for me on my right foot, bringing up my left foot and coming with me in 2. Long and tall through the crown of that head, we pivot, step, go down into that lunge, back up into that balance. Now, if balance is hard, we can always push up and pivot, tap the toes down, but I would like to see you try to lift that knee up, because balance is really important for longevity, long-term independence, okay? We want to keep that balance, and if you think about it, when we walk day to day, we do actually balance intermittently on one foot. So work that control, work that balance, squeeze the hip quickly, whoop, as I lose my balance. We squeeze that hip quickly to catch our body over top of that foot. Already well over halfway through, feeling this in that front leg, the front of the thigh, the hip, the glute, the back of the thigh. On this balance leg, you're gonna feel it along the outside of the foot, up into the hip and bum. 5 seconds, one last one, keeping track of how many we do. Gotta keep it even, guys, beautiful work. Physioball, alternating transverse press. Got to get that quick hydration when you can. Sit down on that ball. Dumbbells facing the legs, punching them up towards the ceiling. Head and shoulders supported. One arm comes down, rotating that palm towards the core. No rotation, glutes tight, belly button in. We want to keep those toes, knees, and hips in a nice straight line. So we're continuing to work that core. Now remember, if you don't have the Physioball, you can do this down on the floor or in a glute bridge position. Nice and controlled. So on a day-to-day basis, we do a lot of turning of those arms. We don't always just push like a chest press going straight ahead. We tend to turn our hand in the process of pushing. So we want to strengthen that body, strengthen that core to stabilize this single arm push position, not to let that core rotate and deviate. 9 seconds on the home stretch. Embracing the burn in the chest, shoulders, back of the arms. Slowly bring those dumbbells back down. 2 exercises to go. This workout has gone so fast, guys. I hope you're feeling it. Transverse lunge to balance on that opposite leg. Shake it out. Here we go. Lifting up that inside leg, and then we pivot towards that leg, stepping forward, down into that lunge, back up to that balance. Remember, there shouldn't be any pain in the low back. It takes some good, strong core work to stop that rotation. We're long and tall through the crown of that head. We squeeze those glutes. Exhale as we push up. And remember, this is a pain-free range of motion. So if that range of motion is not all the way down, that's okay. We want to make sure that the toes, knees, hips stay in good alignment. This should look like a squat on one leg with a kickstand. All right? Feet hip width apart. Everything stacking up in good solid alignment. No pain in the knees, the ankles, the hips, or that low back. Just embracing that muscle burn. 10 seconds to keep it even. You're strong, you're proud, and you're working all the way to that tone. Here it is. Yes, Physioball crunch. That recovery exercise, working on that core. For the finish, guys, after this, we get to cool down and stretch. So rolling out, low back supported this time. Arms crossed at the chest or behind the head. Bum is tight, belly button's in. Now, if you go behind the head, it's really important that we're not pulling. This is not about the arms crunching down. I kind of like personally to support my head. Otherwise, I feel like the front of my neck is straining. And that's not always good either, because the front of your neck, the sternocleidomastoids there, feed into poor posture. So I personally like to have my head just supported by my arms and just kind of leaning my head back, tucking my chin, just like we do. But I'm not pulling on my head. It's just like supported. Exhaling, pushing that belly button down and in towards the ball, pushing our low back into the ball, crunching the ribs towards the hips. My glasses are getting steamy. This is how we know we're getting everything we can out of this workout. Down to 8 seconds on that home stretch, guys. This is it. Yes. Put that ball off to the side. Shake it out. We've got a targeted cool down and stretch coming your way. This is all about stretching muscles that have the propensity to get tight and cause pain and injury. So toes pointed straight ahead, feet wide, wider than shoulder width. We step one foot slightly forward so the heel is in line with the opposite foot's toes. I lean into that leg and then I'm just squeezing my bum, tucking my hips under, feeling that stretch through the inside of that thigh. Feels so good. Any of these stretches we want to hold until we no longer feel that stretching sensation. That's going to be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So feel free to pause me. It's important that if your muscles are tight that we listen to them. They're talking to us. Stretch them out. Help them feel just a little bit better. Getting into a healthier length is going to, again, reduce pain and injury. Go ahead and switch sides. Lean into that opposite leg. Squeeze the bum, tucking those hips. We're tall and proud. We've finished a workout. Now we get to enjoy and pay gratitude to our body for everything that it's done. So these cool down and stretches don't necessarily correlate with preventing injury, but as we strengthen our body, our muscles can get functionally shorter because they pull and they get tight. So stretching them out afterwards when we're nice and warm in this static position can be really, really good for preventing pain and injury. So we come down to the floor, feet hip width apart in a lunge position. Our back foot is flexed. We're going to squeeze the bum, tucking those hips under. A wonderful stretch for the front of the hip, down into that thigh. Can reach up towards the ceiling and add a small lean. Now, one thing to note is you can do this with a blanket, pillow, or pad under that bottom knee. As we push that knee down towards the floor, I don't want any pain through that kneecap. This is not about pushing into that pain, but it is a lovely stretch. Feel free to do this in a standing position on a couch or a bench, so that especially if you have something like osteoarthritis, you're still getting that nice stretch through that quad muscle and those hip flexors without causing a lot of pain and no more injury to those joints. We go ahead and switch sides. Again, hip width apart, back foot flexed. Big squeeze under, small lean to the side. Goodness gracious, this feels so good. So you might notice one side is tighter than the other. Listen to it, pause here if need be, or make sure you come back to it at night. This could become part of your relaxation before bed. Maybe while you're winding down watching TV, you can do some stretches that feel really good for your body and says, I'm here, I'm listening. Oh, and it just feels so good. All right, we're gonna go down into a child's pose. Toes together, knees nice and wide. We're going to reach those hands away from the body. We roll the shoulders down and back away from those ears. We take a big deep breath in. Expand the belly, expand the lungs. Exhale. Press that chest towards the floor. Big deep breath in. Exhale. Feeling that stretch along the outside of the armpits into that low back. Now, I don't want any knee pain here. This can be a hard place for the knees. So if you need to, go ahead and use a higher bench or chair. Still want to try to get a nice round on that low back, and definitely want to roll the shoulders down and back. If you have a hard time kneeling, you can even do this in a standing position, sitting those hips down and back. All right, one last one. We're going to stack one hand on top of the other because we did a lot of anti-rotation. We're going to stretch along the outside of that spine. Focus a little extra on that arm, along the outside of that armpit. Beautiful work. Holding until we no longer feel that stretching sensation. We go ahead and switch sides. Oh, it feels so good to get a nice stretch through there along those armpits. Exhale. Beautiful work. Big, deep, grateful breath in with the good. Exhale. Out with the bad, releasing that stress. Thanking your body for getting your workout in, letting you feel strong, empowered by your workout, and preventing pain, preventing injury, working towards your goals. I hope you embrace the burn. If you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. I always enjoy your feedback, and I'm always happy to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Keep up the great work, and I hope to get to see you again next time.